All right, everybody. Today is going to be episode 241. It always boggles my mind to have so many episodes where I get to be a conduit for whatever wants to flow. And what's super, super exciting is the message today that we are going to be looking at is a lesson inside of the course. And the lesson is lesson 61. The title is I Am the Light of the World. Right now, more than ever, is the time to remember who we are. We are the light of the world. As the world continues to do what it does, today is May 6th, 2026. As we are observing the news, even if you don't watch the news, you cannot escape knowing what's going on around the world at some level, whether it's through social media, through people sending you messages, even if you just look at the headlines, it looks like the world has gone to hell in a handbasket. And it's supposed to happen that way. The reason being is that we have spent thousands of years going in two separate directions. There are those who have been ascending. That's what this represents. There are those who have been steadily climbing incarnation after incarnation, ascending to a place of remembering the truth of who we are. And then there are those who have been steadily lowering their frequency, becoming more disconnected from the truth of who they are. And I use the word disconnected loosely because we cannot disconnect from source. We are in source. We are in the mind of God. A Course in Miracles is really clear. We're not like that old show called Lost in Space. We're not like dangling on our own out there somewhere. We're all inside the mind of God. The reason inside the mind of God is because what God is pure consciousness. Consciousness is intelligence. Intelligence is creative. Creativity extends itself through creating. So there are those who, for thousands upon thousands of years, maybe even longer, depends on who you listen to. We've been around for well, clearly eternity. But when you calculate what is eternity, it's billions of years if we are to look at our linear earthly measurements. Some are ascending, some are descending. The beautiful thing about this is that this is because we have free choice. What is God? What is creator, consciousness, father, mother, Abba, whatever you want to call it? It doesn't matter. You can call it Bambi for all it cares. It doesn't care what name we give it. It only cares that we know it because in knowing it, we know us. That's a beautiful thing about consciousness. It's an expression of who we are. We are an expression of what it is. If we don't know who we are going to be descending. Descending meaning, and it's not really an up or a down. Descending means contracting. This is a spiral. So if you were to look at it from the top, those who are ascending are just moving outside of the spiral. Those who are descending are moving further in towards the center point of the spiral. At this time, though, and this from what I understand from all beings that channel that I respect and also my own guidance, this is the first time in all of creation that humanity gets to awaken while we are incarnated in mass, meaning it used to be one, two, three, 10. Maybe we had, maybe 100 people who remember the truth of who they were. Still pretty rare, but still, a decent number because every one of us who connects with the truth of who we are activates a power that I believe it was in the book Power versus Force, where Dr. David Hawkins said, one being who reaches the highest levels of consciousness is equal to, I believe, I could be off in this, but I'm sure it's pretty close, um, a million in power to a million people who are operating in the low frequency is equal to very literally small number of power, if you will. So one person has the power of a million. Can you imagine two? Can you imagine three? Can you imagine at this time millions of people who are remembering the truth of who they are? And a very important teaching inside of this phenomenon is A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles was channeled for us over 50 years ago for this time, specifically right now, where the masses are waking up. And the reason we have been given the Course in Miracles is because we have to understand the power of our mind. It is a course in mind training, meaning training us to remember who we are by questioning who we're not, by looking at the things that we thought made us who we are, and slowly but surely, with practice, with conviction, with courage, a lot of courage, we are shifting and lifting our vibration, lifting our frequency, lifting our awareness, looking at it from the bigger, wider picture. What happens when you have millions of people who are turning on their light, remembering who they are as God created us? What that light does, what that frequency does, what that high powered vibration is doing is illuminating what goes on when people are descending. Now you can look at the media and can see that so many are choosing to side with the I'm going to call it the lower dimensions, meaning the judging, the yelling, the blaming, the shaming, the wishing others to die. That group that is choosing to contract are actually doing those who are wishing to expand a big favor. Everything is a soul contract. When you begin to understand that there is nothing that happens by chance, everything is part of creation. And the Course tells us the script is already written. So for some to ascend, some have to descend because the insanity gives you more reason to want to find your sanity. I know it did for me. As I started this journey because my mom had passed away and I experienced this terror of dying because growing up Catholic, I thought I was going to go to hell. Well, the more that I began to study religion and the creation of the Catholic Church, the more I began to put two and two together. It was basically a business that utilized religion as a front. And through religion, it's created by a politician, Emperor Constantine, wanted to have a universal religion. Catholic means universal. Wanted to have a universal religion with which to control people, bring in some extra money, of course, get that 10%, but all the land, all the things that have been taken from people, the art, so much has made the Vatican one of the richest organizations in the world. So when you are a politician and you're utilizing politics to create a business that uses religion as a front, well, the purpose is to get as many people to participate, and that happens through fear. When you are free, when you are sovereign, when you know who you are, you don't need to belong to an organization. You don't need to go anywhere to confess your sins. You know who you are. You take a walk in nature. And that's why nature, you can't create a church around nature because nobody would participate in that. When you are liberated because you know who you are as God created you, or you may not know who you are as God created you, but you know that your mind you're in control of your mind. You're not going to be bamboozled into participating in something that is only going to promote fear. You begin to see things differently. So as I was expanding my awareness of what religion is really all about, the more that I expanded my consciousness of the truth of who I am, the more that I saw the staunch Catholic people, the staunch Jewish people, the staunch Islamic people, the more that I saw the staunchness, the more that I'm going the other way faster. So it serves us when we see people who become so determined to defend their position, and their position is limited, or at the very least, it's very fear-based, or it's very judgmental. It serves for those who are wanting to move away from that to go the other way. Literally, you just go, you look at that and you go, this is nonsensical. It's even happened in my own family. I've got one sister who is absolutely staunch in her beliefs. And everything that she shares on social media, every time that we've gotten together, it is about promoting her way and everybody else is wrong. That absolutely makes me even more determined, has made me more determined to be clear about the truth of who I am. And every time that I see what she is sharing or hear what she is sharing, it grounds me deeper in the truth of who I am, and I send even more love. I send even more compassion. I experience a greater desire to forgive her for forgetting the truth of who she is, because I see how much pain she's in, because she's taken upon herself, and she's not the only one. I mean, there are so many out there. I have friends who've done the same thing. I lump them all into the same group. The Course in Miracles has taught me to see that group of people as those who are calling for love. So the more that they become loud with their anger and their resentment and their judgment and frustrations, the more I double down on the love that I'm sending. And it's been for me miraculous, because I sit with such compassion. Before, I had so much judgment. For my sister, she's been like this pretty much her whole life. So I've grown up with somebody who is constantly focusing on the worst thing. She is the poster child. If you look in the dictionary, her picture is right next to the definition of victim. So when she goes into that tirade of being a victim, I have had the opportunity to see the distinction of how I feel when I judge her, when I call her crazy, when labeling her and disrespecting who she is as a child of God. It feels, yes, I puff up because I feel superior, and in that superiorness I become a total bully. And I definitely have done that over the years with her. But when I started this journey and I began to realize that I am the light of the world, and as I turn on my light, for me to keep that light on, I must extend love. I must extend compassion, kindness, gentleness, defenselessness. I don't try to prove her wrong anymore. Boy, did I spend a lot of my life trying to save her and trying to get her to see things the right way. But that's the path that she has chosen. And it's not that she chose it at this level, because we don't choose at this level the path that we're on. We choose it from a level where we are safely in the mind of God. We know who we are. We know that this is a temporary journey, and we're just going to come in here to play divine hide and seek for a little while. We're going to hide the truth of who we are from ourselves, and we're going to spend, part of our journey seeking the truth. Some are going to find it, some are not. Nothing wrong with that. Why? Because we're eternal. If we don't find it in this lifetime, we can find it in the next. But in mass, meaning millions, if not billions, I'm going to say billions of people, it is going to be a massive, massive amount of people who are beginning to wake up and who are looking, at the very least, are looking at what's happening in the world and saying, this, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. Because as we begin to become curious and we enter into that place of being willing to look at everything and question everything, we are moving away from the way, the status quo. We're not willing to be participants in a system that we recognize as insane, as absolutely insane. Just if you look at just politics right now, and I guess maybe it's way more than politics. Let's just look at the world. How many countries are in the midst of some form of an internal revolution? The people are sick and tired of the politicians. It's happening across the board in lots of places. What that means is that the 99% is saying enough, and they are wanting to take their power back at the very least, get that 1% to do what they're supposed to be doing, which is to be servant leaders, not to become the elected or selected in some cases politicians who, let's use the United States because I'm more familiar with our republic. You elect people, they take positions of power in the government. They're supposed to be representing the people. They're supposed to be a voice for the people. Right now, just in our country, I'm going to use one example of insanity. And I've watched plenty of different sides, both sides, and different media share basically the same information. About 85% of Americans want to have a voting system that includes proof of who you are, basically an ID to pick the most powerful representative in the world. They want the people who are voting for this representative to show proof of who they are. It's a way to keep those who are non-citizens from voting, those who are underage from voting, those who for, whatever. I guess that it's primarily to have U.S. citizens voting, and yet, we have politicians who do not want to pass this. So if you've got 80% across the board in all parties, all genders, all cultures, you've got the Latins and the African Americans and the whites all want basically the same thing. Yet the politicians decide, nope, we're not going to give you what you say you want. Something's off. That we don't typically have something that is 80-20. If you have an 80% of the population desiring something, you would think maybe 60, 70% of the representatives would side with you. But when you cannot get something like that passed, meaning you don't even have 50% who are willing to do that, it tells you that they're not representing their constituents. That kind of a thing serves us to recognize that we have given our power away to those who do not get who we are. The same thing has happened according to the Course in Miracles. We have given our power away. We said our mother, our father, our teacher, our preacher, our government, the media, the movie star, they have more power than we do. Our best friend has more power to influence and tell us who we are, what we do, how we should feel, more so than we do. We have been conditioned to give our power away. Now, it doesn't help to become a victim like my sister, that everybody is making her upset and angry and everybody's hurting her feelings. That's not helpful, because when you understand that from another level you chose to come in and have that experience, and people would say, why would we choose this? Well, it's very simple. Why, when you were a little kid, did you choose to play hide and seek? It was fun. It was fun hiding, and it was fun when people were seeking you out, when people were trying to find you, and then you run to safety so you wouldn't get tagged. It's just pure fun. We are eternal children of God, meaning we are eternally joyful, playful beings. That is what we are. We descend into the third dimension, and when I say descend, we got to forget who we are. So the mind contracts and lowers its vibration, lowers its density, take on a physical body, because we need the mask, because we can't just be, energy in 3D. If we were, they'd just call it ghosts and they couldn't even see us. So we become humans who forget who we are. We hide inside of these egoic identities, and then we spend a lifetime seeking the truth of who we are so we can pop out of this egoic opinion of identity of who we are. It usually takes lifetimes to do that. because we're learning lessons. Each lifetime brings us a little closer. Each lifetime brings us into higher and higher levels of remembering, higher levels of consciousness. But in this lifetime, we're going to do it all in this one lifetime. Many are going to go through multiple levels of ascension. In that book, Power versus Force, Dr. David Hawkins said that in any one lifetime, people go up maybe 20 points. And if you look at this chart has, I put the numbers on this chart. So at the lowest level is 20. This is how Dr. David Hawkins was calibrating our frequency. 20, 30, 50. You get to apathy, you're at 50. You get to grief, you're at 75, fear, 100. He said that we normally go up about 20 points per lifetime. In this lifetime, there are people who are moving from shame all the way into pride and courage. These are the numbers of 200, 250, meaning that in one lifetime, you're jumping what it normally would take you 10 lifetimes to do. And it's all possible. Two reasons. The veil is thinning, that there are so many who are waking up that it is thinning the density of this dimension. As things uh, uh, become lighter, you can see more clearly through them. So we're able to see the BS a lot faster. It's like we're becoming attuned to being able to see what is love, what is fear more easily. We have an opportunity to do our own internal work. What that means is that we have to question who we are. We have to question our beliefs. We have to be willing to see if people are thinking so differently, why am I still stuck in my own ideas? That is part of the maturing process where we are letting go of childish beliefs and beginning to remember more mature way of thinking, becoming more of a grown-up, an adult, somebody who is taking responsibility for who we are, moving out of this victim mentality that somebody needs to take care of me. In the process of remembering who we are, we become more responsible. We become people who participate more willingly in the governance of our country. Because our country, this country, all countries, and it's happening around the world, people are saying, wait a second, we trusted these people to be in charge. And what happens when the ego runs your life? You become selfish. And when you become selfish, you want two things: power, money. That's what the ego is all about. Let me see how much can I get if I'm in the process of becoming superior. If you're in the process of becoming a victim, then it works in reverse. How much can I get from others? If I'm a victim, how much can I get from them, in uh, a way of serving me? This is where we move into socialism, into communism, into fascism. How much can I get from somebody else? I want you all to work and take care of me because I can't do it, or I deserve that you do that because of my color or my gender or my whatever. Those ways of looking at things from a victim perspective, uh, you always need a bully. There has to always be somebody superior for you to be the inferior victim. When you wake up from that, you can't be one or the other. You move into a middle ground. You move into a responsible person. You move into one who wants to connect with others who are committed to doing the best that you possibly can, because you realize that there's something inside of you that has a drive, that has a desire to do things for the greater good of all. It doesn't mean that you don't help others who are in need. It's just that you don't foster a victim mentality, because you recognize every one of us is equal, powerful as can be, because that's how God created us. So in today's lesson, lesson 61, I am the light of the world, we must begin to understand that as humanity is continuing to awaken, it is happening because more of us are turning our light on. and then technically you can't turn your light on. We're turning the dimmer up. The light has always been on. It might have been at 1%, but you barely remember or hear the light in you, but we're turning the dimmer up. We are allowing ourselves to feel the fullness of the light of who we are as God created us. From that place, we are activating the light of others because it's a resonance thing. As we vibrate in higher frequency, we move out of victimization. We stop being a bully. We begin to attract more who are drawn to that level of frequency because it's not only more peaceful, it's more joyful, it's more creative, it's way more fun to be somebody who is living from the inside out, who is expressing and extending who they are. It's attracting more. So at the time of this mass awakening, more are coming together to stand for the truth of who we are, and they cannot do it. We cannot do it for ourselves alone. We do it for the greater good, not by going out to save anybody, because you realize everybody's a sovereign being. So there's no more saving. There's simply a standing up for the truth with courage, because you know that who you are cannot be hurt by anybody else. The mind has been so well trained that you recognize that if you are not standing as your happy, joyful self, you would be out of integrity with yourself. It's becomes more painful to not be who you are than it used to be. Because remember, we chose to incarnate and forget who we are. We chose to play hide and seek. Hiding who we are from ourselves was normalized. Now, as you become one who is tasting, you taste the frequency, the joy, the fun, the peace of who you are. It's painful to pretend you're not okay. It's painful to be in conversations, at least it was for me, where everybody's talking about the problems and the bad things in the world. And you're like, oh, I don't want to tell them that everything is good for me. And you kind of stay quiet and go off to the corner. And you're like, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want them mad at me. Well, when you decide to just be who you are, it doesn't matter what other people think. If they're if you're in a group of people, which becomes harder to happen, because the more you turn on your light, the less you're invited to the dark parties, because if everybody's complaining and you're the one who's saying, no, everything's good. I'm working through this. I'm finding my voice. I'm finding my power. Well, that is too much light for someone who wants to deny that they have the light inside of them. So let's look at lesson 61. I am the light of the world. First paragraph. Who is the light of the world except God's Son? And you've got to understand the Course in Miracles uses son interchangeably, son, daughter, it's all the same. But who is the light of the world except for you, me? We are all the light of the world. This then is merely a statement of the truth about yourself. This is simply who we are. We are the light of the world. It is the opposite of a statement of pride, of arrogance, or self-deception. It does not describe the self-concept you have made. It does not refer to any characteristics with which you have endowed your idols. It refers to you as you were created by God. It simply states the truth. You cannot move into the recognition of who you are as the light of the world if there's any egoic tendency to utilize this to puff yourself up. Now, in the beginning of the journey, we might do that. I know I did. Oh, I'm becoming spiritual. I'm hearing guidance. I am going to become a New York Times bestseller because I've got the truth. I've got the information everybody needs. This is how religions get formed. I have the only way that you're going to be able to get to God, and you've got to confess your sins to me. You got to pay me 10%, and then I'll connect you with the big guy in the sky. Those ways of thinking, putting yourself as the middle person between you and God, always means that it puts you above your brothers and sisters. They're here, you're here, God's up there. And when you think you're here, well, that puffs you up. It builds that ego. It makes you think you're special. What does it do to the ones who are down here? Well, we're not special enough. And the ego loves to operate in that. So beginning to accept that you are the light of the world means we got to start equalizing things. There can't be a politician who knows better than me, who is more powerful than me, who is smarter than me, or a movie star, or a sports star, or anybody. We begin the process of remembering who we are. The ones who think they're better, they need to come down a notch. The ones who think that they're not good enough, they need to come up a notch. And we have to begin to meet each other right in the middle. This is why one of the things I love about our US Constitution, and the more that I've learned about what our founding fathers were doing, the more I realize that was an enlightened group of people. They were recognizing that we're all equal. We're creating our constitutional republic to be such that it defended. It actually was to protect. That's what our government is supposed to do, to protect that we are all created equal, endowed by the Creator with the same inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the politicians that don't uphold that, we should be able to change them. We should be able to completely change in the entire Congress if we wanted to, if they're not upholding our individual right equally for everybody to the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. Isn't that a beautiful thing? However, because humanity still has had too much ego, there were too many who ascended into positions of power given to them by us because we voted them, we selected them, and we said, "Yeah, here you run the show. I'll go do my thing over here, and you take care of all these billions of dollars. I trust you. You'll do the right thing." So when we're moving into the place of acknowledging, as it says in here, who is the light of the world except God's Son, and you recognize that son means the sonship, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, humanity. That is when you begin to recognize, wow, some remember the truth, some don't. Why? Because some are still hiding from the truth, and those who have been seeking have found it. Maybe not everybody who's seeking has found it yet, but when you find the truth, it starts with recognizing that we are equal all of us equal, made by God, equally the light of the world, not some. And this is what you begin to see, that those who are not shining their light is because they don't recognize their light. Or they've started to remember their light and it went to their head and they're operating from a place of superiorness. Or some haven't even began to seek. They don't see their light and are operating from a place of victimization. They're inferior. So it is our job as one who then turns on our light to be able to have the eyes to see more clearly, the ears to hear more clearly, that they either remember or they don't. This is why Jesus forgave the person who crucified him, because he realized he doesn't remember who he is. Forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. They know not who they are. So in this lesson, in that first paragraph, as we begin to feel that connection to God, well, there's going to be no pride, no arrogance, no self-deception. It is not your own idea of what that means. It is God's idea. So the work is to begin to want to know what God thinks about me. Course in Miracles lays out that information for us so beautifully. If we are as God created us, what does that mean if that is the truth of who we are? Paragraph number 2 says, to the ego, today's idea is the epitome of self-glorification. But the ego does not understand humility, mistaking it for self-debasement. Humility consists of accepting your role in salvation and in taking no other. It is not humility to insist that you cannot be the light of the world if that is the function God assigned to you. It is only arrogance that would assert this function cannot be for you and arrogance is always of the ego. So these are two very important things that are very difficult for us to move beyond when the ego is the one that we go to listen to for advice. False humility. Oh my gosh, I am not, I cannot possibly be that amazing being that God created. I cannot possibly be honest and defenseless and gentle and joyful. I can't be that. Look, I got so many problems. I don't have enough money to pay the bills. I've got a diagnosis that says I'm terminal. I can't be joyful and gentle and honest. False humility. Then there's the arrogance that moves to I am better than everybody else because I've got a PhD. I'm smarter than everybody else because I'm a politician and I'm your congressperson. I'm your senator. I'm your president. I'm the dictator of this country. I'm the king of this region. When the ego takes on identities of arrogance or humility, false humility, it moves us very far apart from the truth of who we are, which is very balanced. I often use the example of a seesaw. Let me find my ruler. You know how on a seesaw, somebody sits here, it's going to turn the other side up. If somebody sits here, it's going to turn this other side up. So when we are on this journey, before we incarnate, who we are is equal. We're all equal to each other. And we decide to incarnate and we say, okay, you play the bully for me, I'll play the victim. So while we are in this human incarnation, lots of people are playing the role of the bully, and there are those who are playing the role of the victim. Now, the way things work out is we can get a lot more victims to a lot less bullies. So all you need is, the 1% bully, the 99% victims, because victims don't know how powerful they are. So you can corral 99% of them by making them think that the 1% has power. As we begin to do the work and we begin to bring ourselves to that level playing field, where there's nobody that we think that's better than we are, nobody who is lesser than we are, we begin to tap into this God-given power. To come here, we have to have true humility. We have to be willing to say, I don't know what anything is for. We have to be willing to say, I don't see the big picture of everything. I only know what I know. We have to be willing to recognize that I could not have created myself. Something greater than I created me. We get humble and we begin to ask those deeper questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? We come into that middle way. We come into a place that brings us so that we can begin to hear. When you're operating as a bully or a victim, you're listening to the ego. Then the head is loud. Those who think that they're in charge, who assume those bully positions, their head is loud, telling them what to do to stay ahead of the game, how to protect their wealth, how to get more, how to do things to conquer more people. When you're believing that you're less than, you're down here at the bottom, you're in constant thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not powerful enough, I don't have enough, I'll never make it, I'm not worthy. That's a lot of noise. You quiet the noise, you come to the middle. That level of humbleness, like I said, you move out of the seesaw because the victims and the bullies, they tend to trade place because they're two coins of the two sides of the same coin. To do the work of stopping going up and down like a seesaw and coming down into the middle ground is excuse me, is what Jesus was teaching us to go the middle way. Move out of the arrogance and the false humility. Come down to a place that you're willing to find out, God, who am I really? Who am I as you created me? And then the Course tells us, you're the light of the world. Again, somebody who's a bully and reads this goes, yeah, I knew that. And somebody who's been a victim and reads this goes, I can't possibly be that. Well, that's the ego talking in your ear. To be able to move past the ego talking in your ear, you've got to come to that middle place. You got to go into that meditative place. and you bring things like this, I am the light of the world, into contemplation. God, what does that mean? With true humility, I want to know your version of what the light of the world means, not my idea of it. I'm better, I'm superior, or I'm going to get awards, I'm going to get Nobel Prize, I'm going to get whatever. No, I don't want to know what my head knows. I want to know what you know. So it tells us very clearly it's not that the humility that insists that you cannot be the light of the world, and it is only arrogance that would assert that this function cannot be for you, and arrogance is always of the ego. So we go into paragraph number 3. True humility requires that you accept today's idea because it is God's voice which tells you it is true. So as we get humble enough and we want to know what does it mean to be the light of the world, we are going to hear the guidance. This is the beginning step in accepting your real function on earth. It is a giant stride toward taking your rightful place in salvation. It is a positive assertion of your right to be saved and an acknowledgement of the power that is given you to save others. Isn't that amazing? Here we've got to acknowledge that we have to accept this function. If God says I'm the light of the world, if I don't know what that means, and I get humble enough to hear what that means, and I begin to accept that, it comes with some incredible power. The power to be at peace, the power to be so grounded you don't lose your shit when you watch the news, the power to be so comfortable being you. You don't have to defend who you are because you know it so internally. But here's the thing, you know that everybody has that in them too. This is why you don't need to attack anybody. This is why I don't need to attack my sister. I know she's the light of the world at whatever level of remembrance she's at. Doesn't make me better than she is, doesn't make me lesser than she is. It just means that she's on her path and I'm on mine, but we're equally seen as a child of God. So if God sees us as equals, who am I to think that I'm lesser or better than she is? In my case, I used to think I was better than her. So as we begin to accept who we are taking the step to realize that we will be saved only. And saved, if you've got a religious background, you think you go, you're going to be saved by God, by Jesus, by whatever. He saved you because he took on the sins of the world and he was crucified for your sins. That's not, this is not, none of that. That's childish stuff. The real, the real game changer when you accept that you are the light of the world is that you accept that you are love. You're made of love, made by love, you're made to love. That's it. So when you use the word light and love together, you're recognizing that as a loving being, our function is to save the world. To save the world means to spare the world of our egoic judgments. We save the world when we're not attacking it, because that's what the ego does, is with its belief that we're superior or inferior, we're constantly attacking the other. That's just how it plays its game, because that's how it hides. That's how it hides the truth from us, through that constant being on a seesaw up and down, judging and getting the highs and the lows, and that's the way it works. When you begin to get off that seesaw and you begin to move towards the truth of who you are, when you begin to move into that place, where you really are so even keeled, you recognize that everybody who is up or down, going up or down in their emotions and in their attacks and their judgment and their self-deprecating beliefs, you begin to have compassion for them. You realize, just like me, they don't remember who they are. That deserves compassion, not condemnation. And as we begin to see the world from that place as nothing but a bunch of beings who don't remember that they are the light of the world, operating to the best of their abilities in whatever level they believe that they need to be at, because they're in survival. Whether you're a bully or you're playing the role of victim, you're in some form of survival. When you understand who you are, there is nothing left for you to do except to love them with gratitude. You're playing the role that you're playing. And that's okay. Let me play my role fully as one who is awakening. I'm turning on my light. As the light turns on in more of us, we get to see more clearly what has been hidden by the ego, by the distractions of the media, by the distractions of the political, shenanigans. You begin to see what has been going on for thousands of years that even Jesus talked about. Jesus was pointing, letting us know, listen, um, you've been judging forever. Don't cast the first stone, unless you don't have a log in your own eye. Don't point at the speck in somebody else's. If you're totally sinless, then go ahead and cast a stone. Nobody could cast a stone to the woman that they were going to stone to death. So basically, he was just letting us know, look at the stuff in you that keeps you from being just like me, one who remembers that we are one with God. So as we take that moral inventory, as we come within and we begin to look at the egoic thoughts that we have that hold us apart in conflict, superior or inferior, as we take the time to listen to those thoughts in our own mind, we begin to see the pattern that unfolds of all of these lies that we've been telling ourselves that humanity has agreed to operate under. And you begin to little by little pull yourself out of that frequency. And as you pull yourself out of that frequency, that's what Jesus meant by now you have the eyes to see and the ears to see what's happening. And you forgive them. They don't know, they don't remember who they are. That's how we save the world, because we spare them of our attacks. You know who you are. There's no need to attack a brother or a sister when they are down, when they don't remember. And the only thing that is going to help those brothers and sisters, besides our not attacking them, is our living full out as the light of the world. Be your happy, joyful self. Do not apologize for the peace that is in your heart. You just live from that place. Be the kindest person that goes through the checkout line at the grocery store or Walmart or wherever you shop. Be the most joyful person when you take your car in to get the oil changed. Be the happiest person. Be the most peaceful person, the most centered, the most grounded person when you go to work. Remember that in your defenselessness, your safety lies. Somebody attacks you, don't defend yourself. Just recognize, okay, it's all right. One of the things that we have come to value in this insane 3D world is our justice system, our legal system. I use quote unquote because when you step back and you have the eyes to see, you see the joke that it's become. It's only a justice system for a few, not for humanity in general. And you begin to see that we have been conditioned to have to take everything to court. We have to get a defense attorney. So we defend ourselves and we state our case. Most of the time, you don't even win. Depends on who has the most money because the game has been set up that way. The haves and the have-nots have totally different rules for them, all made up by human egos. We save the world by unplugging from that and showing another way right there in our family first, in our community, in our place of worship, in our workspace, wherever you congregate, with your hiking club, with your stay-at-home mom groups, wherever you are, you become an example of what the light of the world looks like. In paragraph 4, it says, you will want to think about this idea as often as possible today. It is the perfect answer to all illusions and therefore to all temptation. It brings all the images that you have made about yourself to the truth and helps you depart in peace, unburdened, and certain of your purpose. What this means is when you get really clear about what being the light of the world is for you, when you've connected with the Holy Spirit, with the voice for God in you, and you have determined, as it says in here, you depart in peace, you become unburdened because you know who you are. When you know yourself as that child of God that experiences peace, the peace that passes all understanding, because you're one with all that is. Why do you think peace is a natural feeling for one who remembers the truth? Because when you remember you're one with all that is, what are you in an adversarial relationship to? You can't, because you realize we're all one, that this is what the atonement that the course teaches us is all about. You realize you're part of the one consciousness. In oneness, what is there to be in conflict with? Who are you going to be in conflict with if you're one with all that is? It requires separation. It requires two to go into conflict and lose your peace. But when you operate from the awareness that you are one and you see everybody as one, then the course tells us that the way that we recognize our brothers and sisters who are still listening to the voice of their ego is that they're simply calling for love. If you see them as nothing more than a call for love, it gives you the opportunity to raise your frequency, to raise your vibration, to up your game, to really play more full out. Are you determined to really accept your role as the light of the world? Well, then be very grateful for everybody who's operating in darkness because they're calling for love. There's no shortage of somebody calling for love right now. We got billions of people losing their shit around the world. That's a call for love. They're mad and angry that this is happening in their town. They're mad and angry about this over there. They think that they're superior. They don't have to listen to this one over here. Don't just send your love and your light to the victims, that the ones who consider themselves, send your love and your light to the ones who think themselves superior. Look at all of those leaders, those CEOs, those famous movie stars with compassion. The work that it takes internally to maintain that elevated sense of grandioseness, that arrogance that I'm better and superior, that takes a lot of work. And that is always going to be the opposite side of the victim inside of them that is afraid to fall down. What if they see the truth about me? What if they realize that, I'm not that good of a person. I'm doing unloving things in the dead of night because they can't see me at that time. All those things are coming into the light of our awareness. We had two Congress people resigned in the last week or two because they were doing inappropriate sexual things. It's going to be coming out more and more and more because the world has been run by the ego. We have been 99% ego, 99.9% ego running the world. But that number of those who are waking up, they may be small, but remember, one person who knows the truth of who they are and they're honestly extending love is equal to 1 million who don't remember who they are. So our light doesn't take that many to become brighter and brighter and brighter. Maybe when it was one light here and there, sweet little Jesus, it's like a match. You turn the match in a very dark warehouse, didn't see a whole lot of light, but those who were around him knew. And yet, look what has happened. His message has been connected to so many who come, and you bring your little match together. Before you know it, you get 10, 20 people together. It's like as bright as a flashlight. You get 100, 200 people together. It's as big as a light bulb in the room. You get thousands of people. You get millions of people. It's a freaking whatever you call those spotlight that is massive. Before you know it, there's so many of us that it's like the sunlight is on all the time. Well, we're going to see a lot of the things that are in the dark. They're calling for our love. The darker it is out there as you become lighter, the greater the opportunity for you to brighten your light. by sending them more love. That's just the way it works. That's why you have to understand being the light of the world is being the love of the world. You brighten up the place by being your loving self. And then guess what? Guess what the price is? You get to feel peace inside. It's an automatic because you're not at odds with anybody else because you see everybody as your brother or sister who is either calling for love or they're acting from a place of love. Do you recognize that it takes no effort to be around the loving people? You're not going to really grow. You're not going to ascend by being around loving people. You ascend by being around those who are calling for love and you extend your love to them. Then you multiply that love that you are. And when you get around loving people, guess what? We're all just resting and enjoying and having the best time in that equal frequency where we can feel that we are loved and we can feel that everybody is operating from the same way. There's transparency, there's honesty, there's collaboration and cooperation and communication. Those are people you can talk about anything and everything, and they're not going to judge you because they're not going to give up their peace to be righteous. That's what's so amazing about when you recognize the truth of who you are. You don't give up your peace to be put on a pedestal. You know, I'm not doing that. I have to give up my peace to make myself righteous over my sister again. I'm not doing that. I see her as one of my greatest teachers that has given me the most opportunity, one of the top five in my life that has given me the most opportunity to feel peace. I'm not giving up my peace because then I'd have to start judging her again. It's not worth it to give up my peace for that. Paragraph number 5 says, as many practice periods, because these lessons are about practicing them every day, as many practice periods as possible should be undertaken today, although each one need not exceed a minute or two. They should begin with telling yourself, I am the light of the world. That is my function. That is why I am here. Then think about these statements for a short while, preferably with your eyes closed if the situation permits. Let a few related thoughts come to you. Notice that if you're a serious student of the Course in Miracles, you spend a lot of time looking at your thoughts. So it tells you, let a few thoughts come to you and repeat the idea to yourself if your mind wanders away from the central thought. The reason we invite those thoughts to come in is because we're looking at the thoughts that are blocking us from staying in our truth. So if you're sitting with, I am the light of the world, that is my only function, that is why I'm here, and all of a sudden you're here, that's not why you're here. You're here to be a mom, you're here to be the president of the United States, you're here to be a fighter, to join the army. Then you go, no, those are not my truths. And you move those thoughts, you put them to the side, you ground yourself in the truth of who you are. And then you use these thoughts in your time of practice to ask the Holy Spirit, what does this mean that this is why I'm here? And that intuitive voice, that knowingness that comes very softly will fill you with the awareness of what that means to you. But you have to tune out what the ego's trying to tell you, which is usually at some level making you arrogant. Oh yeah, I am the light of the world, or making you ignorant to the truth of who you are, which is that false humility that I can't possibly be the light of the world. I haven't accomplished much. Look at who I am. I can't be that. Paragraph 6 says, be sure both to begin and end the day with a practice period. Can you imagine waking up and going to bed, remembering that you are the light of the world? What a beautiful way to live. Thus you will awaken with an acknowledgement of the truth about yourself, reinforce it throughout the day, and turn to sleep as you are reaffirm your function and your only purpose here. These two practice periods may be longer than the rest if you find them helpful and want to extend them. Jesus gives us the what the work is for us to do, and then if you're enjoying it, why not sit in that space longer than a minute or two? Why not sit in that for 20 minutes? Because as we sit in this truth for extended period of times. I need a little tea here. When you begin to realize is how good it feels. You want to stay grounded in that space. The last paragraph, today's idea goes far beyond the ego's petty views of what you are and what your purpose is. As a bringer of salvation, this is obviously necessary. This is the first of a number of giant steps we will take in the next few weeks. Try today to begin to build a firm foundation for these advances. You are the light of the world. God has built his plan for salvation on his son, for his son, of his son on you. We we are here. We are here very specifically. If you feel it in your heart that you were born for such a time as this, that you are waking up, that you're remembering truth, what you are doing is allowing yourself to be purified of egoic thoughts. You're allowing the truth of who you are to come forward. For that to happen, you have to know how amazing you are, how magnificent you are, how important, how perfect, how precious, how holy, how beautiful of a soul you are. And when you accept that about you, and you then make the next step, take the next step, which is to accept that about all of our brothers and sisters, then we realize that what the world needs now more than anything is for people to remember the goodness inside each and every person that doesn't remember that about themselves. And instead of attacking them, how bad you are, how stupid you are, how, you know, sarcastic you are, how this you are, how whatever you are, if we can begin to look at them and say, you know what, you may be angry, you may be upset, but all I see is the goodness in you. I just see the light in you. I just see the love in you. And if they want to throw something at you, if they want to uh, shame you or crucify you, let them. Let them, because the more that you don't defend your willingness to see what is good in others, the more you stand as one with the group of us who are holding that frequency. And the more that we do that, the easier this transition will be, not only for ourselves, but for the many who are going to experience their world falling apart in short order, because it is accelerating. Seeing the lies that we have been living under, that there is an intensification right now to see the lies so that more can remember the truth. So the more that we step outside of what used to be normal, and we stand firm in our conviction to see the light in everybody else, because we have built a solid foundation within us, as it says in here. In the last paragraph, sentence 4, try today to begin to build a firm foundation for these advances. In the Bible, there's a story. It tells us, don't build your house on sand. Build your house on solid rock. Build your house on the truth of who you are. And the bullies will come, the victims will come, and they'll try to knock you down, but they won't be able to, because you will be grounded, convicted in who you are. And when you remember that I am here to be the light, I am here to be the love, it's because you have come to the place to know who you are as God created you. You know that you're not your body. You have a body, but you're not your body. And you are not going to give up the good feeling peace that you have experienced. You're not going to defend it. You're going to stand firm with it. Jesus was an example of that. When you can become an example of that, you will intensify the light that is being put out now, that is necessary for more people to see how they've been living under, misinformation. It's an exciting time to be alive. And that's why I built the Awareness Academy. It's a place where we come together for classes and remember the truth of who we are. We are diving deeper into the Course in Miracles. We are doing amazing healing work. We take current events and we look at them from the perspective of who are we? Instead of blaming out there, we look within. And it's just a powerful time for us to really take to heart that we incarnated to remember who we are. And when you remember who you are and you remember that you are the light, then it's our time to shine it. As little children, we sang the song, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine." Well, as an adult, it's time for us to shine it bright and proud. Yes, Susie, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. That we need that's what the world needs now more than anything is beings who are shining their light, who understand that light and love are the same thing. So today, go out and love on everybody. That's how we shine our light. Love you all and see you guys in the Awareness Academy. So awesome. Take care, everybody.
Bye. Good to see you, Richard. Bye, y'all. I don't know who iPhone is, but have a great day.
Bye, guys.